the condo.
Hi, this is Shining Light TV station London. We are not copywriting you people, but we are using it to tell the story and analyze it to people, you know. So we are not copywriting you people. We are using it to tell the story.
Collapse as Tropical Storm Elsa takes aim at Florida. More victims found in the rubble after a controlled demolition brought down what was left of the building in Surfside. The search expanding today, but tonight crews bracing as severe weather closes in. Tropical Storm Elsa barreling toward Florida.
You can see what I'm telling you people watching our TV channel, you know, always earthquake in America, you know, always. So people, you should be careful when you are renting a house, you know, make sure you rent a proper brick house.
After making landfall in Cuba, warnings up for Florida's entire west coast. In the Keys, the race to get out. Tourists stranded. We have the new track. The Delta variant spreading as Americans rush home from the holiday. The U.S. fell short of President Biden's vaccination goal. Now the White House making another push. And the major announcement in the U.K. on its reopening. Pope Francis recovering from surgery, his condition, and how long he may be hospitalized. A 4th of July tragedy for an NHL goalie, the fireworks accident that took his life. A tiny danger found in all kinds of household items that can be deadly for children, and the potentially life-saving trick every parent should know. The crisis for our military's medics once they leave the battlefield. Is anything being done to help? And the director of so many Hollywood blockbusters being remembered tonight.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
We are not copywriting you people, NBC. We are just telling the story and analyzing it to people who doesn't understand a lot of English. So, ale so Yoruba, ale so Igbo. We are not copywriting you people. So, we are just using it to tell the story.
Good evening, I'm Kate Snow in for Lester tonight. Rescue workers wasted no time today getting right back to the arduous search for survivors after what was left of Champlain Towers South in Surfside, Florida came tumbling down last night. With a tropical storm headed to Florida.
You can see people, look at a whole building coming down. So we should be covering ourselves with the blood of Jesus. What this type of tragedy, when it's happening, we will not be there. You know, God will move us. You can see. That is why we are telling all this story. We need to tell the story so people can be aware and be conscious, be protecting their life, you know.
Authorities decided to strategically implode the precarious structure, and that ended up helping, giving workers access to a previously inaccessible area. The mayor of Surfside saying today operations are moving much faster now. Still, this is day 12, and so many remain missing. The severe weather seems to have shifted west, but it could still impact efforts. We'll have more on the storm preparations and the forecast in a moment, but we begin with Morgan Chesky once again in Surfside.
At 10:30 p.m. Sunday, the explosions rocked Surfside, the remnants of Champlain Towers South crashing down in a delicate demolition.
Bringing the building down in a controlled manner was critical to expanding our scope of search. Truly, we could not continue.
You can see, the building she came down, you know, people across the whole world. Can you see what happened? Can you see the whole building came down?
Without bringing this building down.
The decision made after concerns the tower was too unstable, especially with the potential arrival of Tropical Storm Elsa and dangerously high winds.
There was the very real potential where this storm could have knocked the building down in the wrong way on top of that pile, which would effectively ended the search and rescue.
Crews careful to protect their progress, covering the existing pile with a massive rubber mat.
So if any of the rubble from the existing building that was demolished fell onto that pile, we could quickly remove it and know exactly where our line was.
The death toll rising yet again. 28 people dead, more than 110 others still missing. Search and rescue back on the pile just hours after the blast, now safely able to access new areas. Heavy equipment also speeding up work in clearing rubble. FEMA saying crews have now cleared 40% of the debris above ground. As for what or who could still be buried beneath, from a survival standpoint, what do you tell folks still waiting?
We just tell them that the same thing that we believe. We believe it, that we're still hoping for a miracle. But we understand it is, every day that goes by, it makes it a lot more difficult to try to realize that miracle.
And Morgan, with Tropical Storm Elsa on the way, what's the biggest concern now?
Yeah, Kate, with that demolition now complete, the concern here isn't about the wind so much as it is lightning. Should any strike happen within 2.5 miles of this site, crews have to wait for at least 30 minutes to return, and every second is precious. Kate?
All right, Morgan, thank you. And at this hour, all of Florida's west coast is under a tropical storm warning, along with parts of the Keys, where they're bracing for an impact in a matter of hours. Sam Brock is there for us.
After thrashing through the Caribbean and claiming at least 3 lives, Tropical Storm Elsa is tangling with Cuba tonight, where 180,000 people have already evacuated. The storm showdown there, likely shaping its strength for its next stop, Florida.
I will admit I freaked out a little bit.
The tourist favorite at the end of the Florida Keys is squarely in Elsa's path, but with 4th of July celebrations ongoing. Many say they've danced around storms before.
I've lived down here for 30 years. I've been through every hurricane. I never leave because I've got to stay to protect my boat.
Bars remain packed and brunch lines long, even as officials warn travel could be snarled for those leaving town.
Suddenly it's evacuation, we have to leave. Everybody getting on the run at the same time, yeah, that is concerning.
One mom calling it audible after snapping some photos at the iconic southernmost point.
We're going to try to cut our trip short just to avoid some of the damages if it does occur.
At Key West Airport, a Virginia woman here to see her grandkids lost her reservation in an airline snafu. Now she can't book another flight out.
It's so unpredictable. They can't tell us when, where, which airline. Just wait it out.
Somewhere out there is Tropical Storm Elsa, and as it's approaching, the warnings have expanded west. The Big Bend of Florida near Tampa is one of the most vulnerable places in the world for storm surge because of the ocean's topography. Kate?
All right, Sam, thank you. Meteorologist Dylan Dreyer's tracking Elsa's latest path for us. Dylan, where's the storm headed?
Good evening, Kate. The storm is moving northwest at about 14 miles per hour. It crossed over the mountainous terrain of Cuba, so that helped to weaken it a bit, but it will likely strengthen as it moves into the warmer waters off Key West. The storm, you can see, is going to run parallel to the west coast of Florida, but on the eastern side of it, we have lots of rain, winds up to about 60 miles per hour, and we could also see a 1 to 3 foot storm surge. The biggest threat, though, should be the rain. We could get as much as 8 inches in some areas, and that will lead to a flooding potential. Kate.
All right, Dylan, thank you. Now to the COVID crisis. As Americans celebrate the nation's reopening, the Biden administration is renewing its vaccination push, with just over 67% of U.S. adults receiving 1 shot, short of the president's goal set for July 4th. Kelly O'Donnell is at the White House.
As holiday travelers head back home, celebrations of summer freedom will spark a renewed push to increase vaccinations.
We're going to double down on our efforts to vaccinate millions of more Americans across July and August.
4 states lag the nation with less than 40% taking even 1 dose of vaccine. Mississippi ranks last. Denise Taylor, who coached college basketball and in the WNBA, is trying to change that.
I am coaching. I'm just coaching on a different court.
Taylor is going one-on-one each day to make her pitch relatable.
What I found is I put myself in their shoes. And then I let them know, you know what? I was hesitant too.
Among those not yet vaccinated around the country, some say they will not be persuaded.
I told them that I'll take my vaccine on the way to the cemetery in about 15 or 20 years.
As the president and first lady promote vaccines as safe, free, and readily available, the White House touts progress, while still short of its own goal of 70% of adults with at least one shot.
COVID-19 has not been vanquished. We all know powerful variants have emerged, like the Delta variant.
That strain spreads more easily. Dr. Fauci says the unvaccinated are at greatest risk of death.
Which is the reason why we say this is really entirely avoidable and preventable.
And Kelly's with us now. Kelly, that July 4th goal was missed, but how long does the Biden administration think it'll take to have 70% of adults vaccinated?
Well, Kate, officials predict it'll take a few more weeks to hit that mark, and so they'll focus resources on young adults and sending federal teams to areas where the Delta variant is already surging. Kate?
All right, Kelly, thank you. Britain has announced plans to lift most remaining COVID restrictions on July 19th. That news comes as the Delta variant spreads there and cases rise. Prime Minister Boris Johnson acknowledged the UK could hit 50,000 cases a day within 2 weeks, but said Britain must learn to live with the virus. In just 60 seconds, our new reporting on the Pope's condition after he underwent surgery.
Whether you're in SMB or enterprise sales, there's a better way to crush your competition. Introducing Lucia, the perfect tool for any company size. Simply find your target on LinkedIn and click on Show Contact to get the prospect's number and email. You can also save your contact directly to your CRM. So are you ready to cut your prospecting time in half? Lucia, start for free.
Remain in the States. Megan will still have 2 very small children. Archie is just 2 and baby Lilibet was born on June 4th. However,
did you know that in the UK, you can have huge debts, including credit cards, loans, overdrafts, and overdue bills, legally written off? In the next 60 seconds, I'll show you.
Pope Francis remains hospitalized tonight after the surprise announcement Sunday from the Vatican that he was undergoing surgery. Molly Hunter reports from Rome on how long his hospital stay might last.
Tonight, 84-year-old Pope Francis is spending a second night in the hospital. Recovering from colon surgery, the Vatican says the pontiff is in good general condition, alert and breathing on his own. The procedure for a stenosis, or narrowing of the colon, took 3 hours on Sunday, requiring general anesthesia. Just hours before going into the hospital, the Pope held his usual Sunday blessing, not mentioning the operation.
Why didn't he mention it? As much as Pope Francis is very upfront and says exactly what's on his mind, when it comes to his personal life, he's rather private. So he had other matters that he wanted to speak about, other appeals in the world, an upcoming trip. As far as himself, he didn't want to take the attention.
But last week, he made a special ask, saying the Pope needs your prayers. But the surgery marks a rare health issue for the pontiff, who keeps a rigorous schedule, already planning his next foreign trip in September.
There have been other health concerns over the years. He suffers from sciatica, and he's missing a part of his lung. But tonight, the Vatican says Pope Francis will remain in the hospital for at least 7 days. Kate?
All right, Molly, thank you. Tonight, we're taking a closer look at veterans who work as military medics. Many who served are struggling to find work in the medical field as a civilian. NBC's Aaron Gilchrist has more on why and what's being done to change it.
As an enlisted sailor, Eric Dodson spent 11 years in the U.S. Navy, trained as a hospital corpsman, working on the front lines, assisting with surgeries and mass casualty incidents.
And it was, hey, we have like 20 people coming in, take care of some, like find someone to take care of them.
After his military service, Dodson volunteered as a registered nurse at a COVID field hospital in New York.
Once that was over, because the mission had finished, I was applying for jobs as an ER tech and being told I wasn't qualified.
Did anyone ask about your work experience, your life experience?
A lot of it was very much, hey, this is an impressive resume, we love this, we'd love to have you, but, you know, you just don't have the right certifications.
Dodson's problem is not unique.
At a time of great need for healthcare workers, we're turning away some of the nation's most qualified, experienced healthcare workers.
According to the Call of Duty Endowment, only a handful of states have clear pathways from military healthcare to civilian healthcare jobs.
And you're confronted with these bewildering regulations, and sometimes a lot of these folks just give up and they find other careers, which is a real shame.
The military has found a way to address this problem. Now all enlisted medical personnel come to one place where they learn, they train, and then they're able to take those skills and certifications into the civilian world. Colonel Richard Villarreal is the Dean of Academics at the Defense Department's Medical Training Campus.
Tactical field care. Let's go.
Over time, we've realized that it's better if we can provide each individual soldier, sailor, and airman with something that they can take out to the civilian community once they have finished serving their country in the military.
The military now provides these certificates and even college credits that transfer into the civilian world, too.
They at least have a pathway using one of these bridge programs.
The military shifting to help veterans help more people here at home. Aaron Gilchrist, NBC News, Fort Sam Houston, Texas.
There was more violence this holiday weekend from New York to Chicago. Police departments across the country are grappling with how to deal with recent surges in crime. About 4 years ago, the city of Baltimore changed its approach to policing. NBC's Tom Yamas now on how it's working.
On the streets with Baltimore police, responding to a domestic disturbance call. As officers tried to gather information, the scene starts to turn. Tempers flaring after an alleged fistfight among family members. Some involved start shouting at officers. 4 years ago, police tell us there would have been arrests here. But now, a focus on de-escalation.
One of the men came in kind of hot. What does your training tell you in that situation?
Try to stay calm and try to keep the party separate. Baltimore PD is trying to change because they have to. In the wake of the protest over the death of Freddie Gray, who died in 2015 from injuries sustained in police custody, the Justice Department took a hard look at Baltimore PD's tactics and found widespread civil rights violations. That led to the consent decree in 2017, mandating limits on use of force, enhanced civilian oversight, and more de-escalation training.
There's more of a community-oriented approach to everything.
Veteran officer Rista Koikoi thinks the changes are working, but a recent survey shows some patrol officers feel vulnerable.
Since the consent decree was implemented, some Baltimore cops have complained that they're apprehensive now about using force, even making a good arrest, because they're not sure if the department is going to have their back.
The perception that you have to be overly aggressive and strong to enforce law is wrong.
Ray Kelly is one of the community organizers who has helped monitor the changes.
If you were to grade the consent decree, what grade would you give it?
I would give the consent decree a C-.
Why?
I think the process itself is slow beyond slow.
4 years in and millions of dollars later, we asked residents in West Baltimore, the most violent area of the city, if they noticed change.
I have not noticed a difference. I feel like there's a lot of resistance.
Some say things have gotten worse.
When I say Baltimore PD, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Phoniness, aggression, targetism, racism.
But Kelly maintains there is some progress.
I can only reflect on the riots and unrest around the country following the George Floyd murder. We didn't have clashes with.
This is Governor Show Us Your Work, Senator. Where is your surgery? We are not copyrighting you people, but we are using it to tell the story. We are telling the story. So umunnem no munna mona huna here doom na happen in America, So we are just using it to tell the story. Like people who doesn't understand English, we can speak to them. When they call us, we can analyze it with them. When they watch it and call us, they don't understand it, we can make them to understand it.
The police department.
And though some are critical of the pace of change, even Baltimore police acknowledge real change will take time.
It takes like a generation to see that change. You know, you need kids to actually grow up, see what we're about, see what we do.
Trying to overcome decades of mistrust, day by day. Tom Yamas, NBC News, Baltimore.
We're back in a moment with an important warning for parents about tiny batteries easily swallowed by young children and what to do if that happens.
So you can hear parents. Did you hear what they say?
Back now with news of the tragic and accidental death of an NHL goalie. Latvian-born Matīs Kivlenieks of the Columbus Blue Jackets was at a party in Michigan yesterday when a firework suddenly struck him in the chest, killing him. He was just 24 years old. And now we turn to a hidden danger in our own homes. Every year, more than 2,000 young children accidentally swallow a button battery, which can be deadly. Katie Beck reports on what you can do to protect your family.
Like most 16-month-olds, Reese was a ball of energy.
She was a spitfire. She made her presence known from the second that she could.
Tragically, in October of 2020, she got a hold of a small button battery from inside a remote control. Her mother, Trista, realized Reese had swallowed it when she noticed the battery missing, and Reese began wheezing. The tiny toddler would undergo several procedures to repair the hole the battery had burned in her esophagus.
It was a lot of battling sedation. It was a lot of waiting for inflammation to go down. It was a lot of praying.
Her fight to survive ended in December.
I never knew of the dangers of button batteries.
They're found in household items like thermometers, calculators, remote controls, watches, even kids' toys and shoes. And in the first 7 months of the pandemic, ER visits related to button batteries rose 93% among young children. If a button battery is ingested, seek medical help immediately. Experts recommend giving honey to children on the way to the ER, 2 teaspoons every 10 minutes for children over a year old, according to Poison Control.
Honey helps to reduce the rate of injury the battery causes once it's lodged in a child's esophagus, creating a physical barrier between the tissue and the battery.
Trista's nonprofit Reese's Purpose now lobbying lawmakers for better safety standards, mandating screws for all products that use button batteries.
I would still have Reese. I'd be picking her up from school right now, and my family was robbed of those moments.
Now living a mission to honor Reese by preventing another family's pain. Katie Beck, NBC News.
That honey tip, so important. Hollywood has lost a legend. Richard Donner, the director who brought Superman to the big screen in 1978, has died. Donner, in his long career, also directed the Lethal Weapon series, The Goonies, and The Omen. He was 91. When we come back, our Harry Smith reflects on a July 4th like no other.
She was just 3 years old. She first knew she wanted to
Finally
be a
tonight,
artist
freedom,
at the age of 8,
independence,
and was
those
able
words
to
had
hone
greater
skills
meaning for
singing
many
in the
this
church
4th of
choir.
July. Here's Harry
Her
Smith.
early influences were Tina Turner and fellow Jamaican icon, model, singer,
Independence Day. It sure feels different this year. To be honest, a lot different. As COVID restrictions dropped, our collective mood elevated, and there are plenty of days now we feel like this guy. Airports are jammed, hotels are booking up. America is back on the move. Unlocked, unfettered, free. In no small part because so many of us have gotten vaccinated. That's E pluribus unum for you right there. Out of many, one. So we'll be free to picnic and barbecue, free to go to parades and fireworks, free to celebrate. We learned a few things during the pandemic, how pulling together can save lives, how making some personal sacrifices can serve the greater good. As the founders prepared to sign the Declaration of Independence, Ben Franklin famously said, "We must indeed all hang together, or most assuredly we shall hang separately." Yet while they were signing a document declaring all men created equal, 500,000 fellow Americans were property, enslaved people, not equal by any standard. Our history is both woeful and wonderful. Our story should be shared, owned. It endangers no one to understand the sins of our past. For as an old book we've read says, the truth shall set you free. Harry Smith, NBC News, New York.
And that is Nightly News for this Monday holiday. Thank you for watching. I'm Kate Snow. For all of us here at NBC News, stay safe. Have a great night.
It reached the number 53 position on the Hot 100, the top 20 on the R&B chart, and number 1.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube.